Hello Eurovision friends, thank you so much for coming to my channel Eurovision Histories. Today I want to talk about the Portuguese entry for Eurovision 2024, and that is Iolanda with the song Grito. She won the Festival da Canção yesterday, and I am very happy about that because the song was one of my favorites. In this video, I will be looking at different aspects of the song and performance, giving points from 1 to 5, and then we'll also have an overall rating for the Portuguese entry. I will also make a prediction on how Portugal will do in Eurovision, whether they will be able to qualify. And later on, I also have your votes and comments from the community tab of my channel. Thank you for participating in that. If you do want to participate, you gotta subscribe to the channel. And later on in the week, there will also be a bit of a surprise. So I think you want to be subscribed not to miss that. Okay, let's talk about the song. The first aspect I always like to talk about are the lyrics of the song. And in this case, I think that is actually very important to understand the structure of the song, but also the performance. I think the lyrics are talking about coming out of a very dark time in your life, maybe even a depression. I think it's about a mental health struggle and how she fights against what is keeping her there. So let's look at the lyrics to see that. I felt my body getting heavy. We keep on like this, one and another, one and another, one and another. I'm free falling. I tell you when I get there, I surrender myself here bit by bit. So she's feeling her body getting heavy and she's free falling. So she's, I think, right in the middle of that very dark time, the mental health struggle in her life. But then she goes on, long strides caught in the match. I want to let go of what left a wound. I asked the mother star to make the day be born again. So now she's looking towards the future. She wants to heal her wounds and she's looking for a brighter day, so to speak. And then she says, I transformed every verse of me and give in to courage that still burns, still burns. The light hits my chest and opens up. I am a flame that still burns, that still burns. What I really love about this part of the song is that she has the flame within her and she realizes that she has everything she needs to pull herself out of this dark time in her life within herself. And I really do like that part of the lyrics very much. And then she also sings, today I want to prove to myself that I can be whatever I want, to bring together those who love me at a table, to forgive anyone who wanted to see me suffer. They can't fool me. So in this part of the lyrics, you really get the message of self-assurance that she knows what she needs to do and she will do it. She has made a plan to come out of this depression. However, I also think that when she sings about forgiving the people that wanted to see her suffer, and when you think about the flame that burns within her, this might also be about her struggle as an artist to be creative and to let the flame kind of out her creativity, which of course she does with this song. So I have to say that I really love the lyrics of this song. They are repeating themselves a few times, but this kind of adds to this message of self-assurance, I think. So in this case, I don't have a problem with the repetition other than in other Eurovision songs we've seen before. And so in the end, I decided to give 5 out of 5 points for the lyrics. And the fact that the title of the song, Grito, which means scream, isn't even part of the lyrics adds to the artistry of the whole thing. Because of course we have a grito in the vocal performance, but you don't have to mention it in the lyrics for the whole song to make sense. And I love that. But let's talk about the vocal performance because I think it is actually incredible. I heard the studio version and was very impressed with her vocal chops and with the different layers she adds to the performance. But I was a bit worried that she might not be able to translate that in a live performance. But boy, was I wrong, because it is actually better, I think, in the live performance. She adds a few more layers of emotion that we didn't have in the studio version. And if you are able to do that as a singer, I mean, that's the biggest compliment you can give a singer, I think, that they are better live than in studio with all of the production going on. And I also think that the vocal performance is very intricate. She has an incredibly nice and soft vocal tone that I really, really like. But her vocals are also very clear most of the song, and I love that. But she also adds in a bit of melancholy, which of course makes sense with the lyrics. At times the voice is soft and cozy almost, but then there are also parts where she adds angst to it, which also makes sense with the lyrics. And I just love that, this contrast that she manages to put into the song. Very Portuguese in a way as well. Love it. And then you have the climax, of course, that the whole song and also the vocal performance builds towards the scream, the grito. And the beginning of the scream is very clear, but then she switches it to a more almost distorted raspiness, which really shows the whole emotion of the song and the angstiness. And I mean, listen to it again. The scream is just the best part of the song. And so it makes sense that the song is called Grito. And so overall, I'm giving 5 out of 5 points for the voice as well. Now, the performance, I love, which is the performance of the artist. I love the attitude she has in this song. You really see it in her face that she is trying to find her strength, and I love that. But there's also a lot of emotion and vulnerability you can see in her facial expressions and the way she moves as well. The emotion, the angst she infuses into the song, especially during the climax and after it, is just amazing. And so in the end, I also gave 5 out of 5 points for the performance. Now for the staging, I think the choreo is just amazing and incredible because it fits the melody of the song, but it also tells a story. I think the backing dancers are supposed to be the demons that are trying to hold her back, trying to pull her back, and they just add a lot of visual impact to this performance, I do think, because when she does the scream, which is the climax of the song, and it is to me almost a scream of liberation, of getting rid of all the negative thoughts, they are falling away and she is there alone. And also the ratio of the screen changes back to her and the focus is on her. And so she has kind of overcome her demons. And I love that part of the staging. I also think that the staging is visually very impactful because they are all in white and you have the background changing from darker colors to white again. And that also kind of tells the story of the song. And so in the end, it creates an interesting visual atmosphere as well. And so I couldn't do anything but give it this 5 points for the staging as well. Now, you notice already that I quite like the entry, but let's also talk about the song, the most important part of a Eurovision entry, of course. I think that this song is a masterpiece. And it kind of clicked for me a few days ago when I saw the performance. As I said, I do think that the performance adds a lot to understanding the song. I love the way the song continuously builds towards this climax, the scream. With the instrumentation, with the vocal performance, it starts as an a cappella with the focus on her voice. Then some guitars come in, and then later on you have the beat, a very slow beat, but it is a beat, and it is partly made up of strings as well, which adds an interesting layer to it all. And then you also have the choir effect later on with the backing singers coming in. And then you have the grito, which is the climax of the song and makes everything make sense in a way. What is it building towards? It is building towards the scream. And that is just amazing to me. Also, the fact that it builds so slowly and that it takes its time makes the impact of the climax even better and even more impressive. And I have goosebumps when I listen to this song and the scream comes along. At the beginning, it is also a bit like a berceuse, like a lullaby. You're kind of rocked back and forth by the melody of the song. But what makes this song distinct from other artsy entries like this is that it also manages to be really, really catchy with the chorus and makes it a nice song to listen to as well. And it stays in your head. And that is just a perfect combination for Eurovision for me personally, because obviously this is my personal rating. The song also creates an interesting atmosphere. It's spellbinding, mesmerizing. and cozy at the same time. And I mean, I just love it. And I gave the song 5 points as well. The song counts 3 times the staging twice, even though in this case it doesn't really matter because we have full 5 points for the Portuguese entry, Iolanda and Grito. And obrigado, Portugal, for this wonderful, wonderful entry. You have really done it again. You do your own thing, and sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. But in this case, it really, really works. So thank you, obrigado. Now, before I tell you my prediction for how Portugal will do in Eurovision, do subscribe to this channel. There are lots of interesting videos like this one. And as I said, at the end of the week, there will also be a bit of a surprise. So do subscribe, and then I won't have to say it anymore. Now, let's look at how I predict Portugal will do in Eurovision 2024. Let's first answer the question whether they will be able to qualify from the semi-final. I always look at the qualification rate in the last 10 years. And as you can see, Portugal has a 57% qualification rate in the last 10 years, which is kind of okay, I think. They have managed to qualify for 3 years in a row. That's the 3 green arrows you see. So they have been on a bit of a roll. And if they manage to qualify again, they will be on a 4-time qualification streak. Now, Portugal is in the first semi-final and in the second half, which I think is an advantage for a slower song. It is always good to be later on in the running order. This is an interesting semi-final because we have Ukraine, we have Serbia that are also kind of slower songs that build. And then you have Portugal. Portugal doesn't have, unfortunately, a lot of friends in this semi-final. They might get some points from Luxembourg because lots of Portuguese live in Luxembourg, but otherwise they're a bit alone. And so I really do hope that they will be able to make it to the final. But I'm a bit worried, actually, at the moment. When I look at the other countries, I think Moldova is in trouble, Iceland is in trouble, maybe Cyprus, maybe Ireland, but all the other ones have kind of arguments that kind of make me think that they will be able to make it. And so in the end, I am not making a prediction on whether they will qualify or not because I think they're a bit on the borderline, unfortunately. I mean, for me, they have to qualify, but this kind of reminds me a bit of Aja for Latvia last year. A lot of people love it. It's an interesting, good, artsy song, but in the end, the support of the televote kind of lacks. And this is also one of the reasons why I'm a bit worried, because the semifinals are 100% televote, and this is more a song that will convince the juries, I think. But for the sake of argument, let's say Portugal makes it to the final, and then I would predict 17th to 22nd for the televote, because it is a great performance, but I think there are way more songs that are more televote friendly that will be in the final. However, we might have a bit of an Alika effect where the song barely makes it into the final, but then the juries come in, and this is a song I think that the juries will like. My prediction is 5th to 15th, and so in the end it might do much better in the final than it did in the semi-final. My prediction overall would be 12th to 17th, even though for me personally it would be a top 5 entry, but I'm not the only one deciding the Eurovision results, of course. So this is my prediction. Before I let you go, I also have your votes and comments from the community tab of my channel. Let's have a look. 24% of you gave this song 5 points, 29% gave it 4 stars, 31% 3 stars, 10% 2 stars, and 6% 1 star. So apparently I love this entry more than you do, but there are quite a few 4 and 5 star ratings, which Portugal can be very happy about. Let's look at some of your comments as well. Portugal did it again for me. Everything is on point. She's singing better than in the studio track. I hope Portugal will find its way to the finals. I do too. Gravy Sushi, which is an interesting combination I wouldn't have thought of, says, my number one this season, was so happy that the vocals lived up to the studio cut, an emotional and beautiful song that gives me chills every time I listen to it. And Amber Isabel says, this song is such a masterpiece, everything about it just so beautiful and spellbinding. Thank you, Portugal, for going with the absolute best choice, expecting a top 10 for this masterpiece. I hope you're right, and I hope this does better than I have predicted, actually. Glisiek says, the rhythm of this song is of a lullaby with sweet melodic tunes and a sleepy vibe. Agreed. And Chilachi says, first-time listeners during Semi 1 could feel Grito and Romonda very similar. There are not that many televoters coming for ballady songs. Ballad lovers' votes might be divided, then both might non-qualify. I don't think Serbia will non-qualify because they have a lot of support in that semi-final. I'm worried for Portugal, yes, but Portugal is after Serbia, so maybe the dividing ballot votes won't happen as much. At least that's a bit of my hope. Then EuroCYB says, quite classic but agreeable, a softer moment among so many high-energy, daring entries. That is true too. Even though a lot of the softer songs are in semifinal 1, I think people also need a breather between the visually very impactful and also loud songs that we already have in this Eurovision, and this might be the one to do it, I think. Stonebrook says, simply gorgeous, 5 stars. This is the polar opposite of Sweden, and I really like Sweden, don't get me wrong, but this right here is the reason I watch Eurovision, for jams like Portugal. I completely agree. Yeah, this is why I watch Eurovision as well. And Costa says, a beautiful, emotional and haunting song which doesn't sound like anything else we have in the competition this year, and Iolanda does a great job supporting it with her powerful and clear vocals. Completely agree. I think this is a great comment to end the video with. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for voting and your comments. Do let me know in the comment section of this video what you think of the song, how you think it will do in Eurovision, and then please subscribe and I'll see you in my next video. See you then and bye bye.